Welcome everybody. Guys, I hope you had a very nice unplugged day. Um, you will have two more. Today we will have a look at the rest of the digestive system, and tomorrow we will start with the respiratory system. So we have to finish the digestive system today. So it will be an interesting class to make it all uh, to see it all for today. Before I start, guys, I got some comments of certain students saying that there was an issue with the grades. So let me explain you something, okay? Um, this is what you had in the beginning of the class, okay? So you have the first period, which is 30%, the second period is 30%, and the final period is 40%. So now in the first partial, you gained 30% already. You know that because you had this from the beginning of the class in our evaluation. How is each period subdivided? You have activities which are 40%, the core activity 5%, the quizzes 15%, and the first period exam 40%. Okay? Well, there is one thing that is a mistake of tech. And what you see here, the percentage that you used to see in Canvas is incorrect. That percentage is in fact an average of all the things you have done. So if you look at all the things you have done, it's just making an average of that. So if you want to know your real percentage, you basically have to go to your column of, which I have them here, right here. You have to go to your first activities, multiply it by 0.4. Your quizzes, you multiply it by 0.15. Your core activity, you multiply it by 0.05 because it's 5%. And the first partial exam, you multiply it by 0.4. If you add all this, you have your percentage, okay? The percentage in the end is not correct because it just takes it just makes the average of all those things, which is not correct. I apologize for that because I didn't know that. They did that in Monterrey. They changed that because there used to be, I mean, we never had any problems with it because last semester it would calculate it. But they told me Monterrey that they removed it because a lot of teachers had problems with that. Um, anyway, and then secondly, you have your first partial grade in MITEC, okay? If you have looked yesterday, you have seen a wrong percentage because that percentage didn't include certain activities that were graded because the system wasn't actualized. Now it's actualized, and it would mean that all of you on average have between 2 and 3% more. So if you check your grade right now, you should have the correct grade. If you want to check it for yourself, do the calculation like I did. With the percentages, you have them here. It's very simple, and you can know your percentage in MITEC, and you know how that percentage was calculated. Okay. Any questions about this?
Teacher, it's not a question about that, but on the weekend we had two activities
Yes.
and I didn't deliver the quiz because it was in Teams. And you gave me the comment that I should deliver, but I can't because I can't take the quiz anymore. So,
Which quiz, Emilio?
well, it was like, wait, let me check real quick.
Is it of second partial? If it's of second partial, there's no problem. I will open it again and I will give you, I will still accept it, okay? But the
Yeah,
pro,
it's from second partial.
okay.
Yes, and the instruction said like only one team member should deliver it, and I was that one, and I wrote the names of everyone at the beginning
Yeah, I know
of
that's
my team.
okay, Santiago, but I told you in the beginning of the class, like last semester as well, that even if it says that, I would like you all deliver it individually, okay?
Oh,
So that's a rule from for our class because otherwise it's very confusing for me. And it's also like, yeah, everybody expects somebody else to hand it in, and then it's only confusion, you know. I want for any activity, even if the activity says that it's a team activity, that everybody delivers it individually. This is something that we already did last semester as well. So even if it says so, please hand it in individually. Anyway, if you didn't, I don't think I gave you a 0. And if I did, you tell me, and I will open the activity and still give you the grade. Okay. I don't want to make it hard for you, but please, I'm telling you again that everything you have to hand it in individually in my class, because otherwise I cannot be sure that you participated or you did your part. If you work with Oliver, then Oliver thinks that you're going to hand it in, and then you think that Oliver hands it in, and then the end nobody hands it in. So I just want everybody to hand it in individually. Okay. And my
So,
apologies if there were
Okay.
any issues with the percentages. Anything of second partial I review after class, I will open it again so that you can still hand it in. Okay. But
Mr.
guys, Canvas is
Okay.
giving
Okay.
you the dates when you have to hand it in. So normally it should be obvious. I'm not gonna do like if the news feed tells you this homework is for the 24th or for the 25th or whatever, then I'm not gonna put it again in the announcements. That's double work. Canvas is designed for like that you can see when you have to hand in everything. Okay. But in case you had this doubt, I'll check it, I'll open it again, and you don't have to worry for second partial. Also, I want to congratulate you all for your really good first partial. I think this group has really well done. I think we have very high grades, and I think I'm very happy as a teacher. So I think you did really well. And I'm sorry if you saw yesterday your grade. I tell you again, now it should be a little bit higher because there were certain things not in the activities yet, but that should be solved. Okay.
thank you. First of all, yeah, thanks. And then uh, going back to what Marroquin said, there was also like this docs that what was attached to the quiz where you had to put like the chicken images and stuff.
Yeah.
And Marroquin delivered that one, and I didn't. So could you please open that one too so I can deliver the docs too?
Yeah. Which one is that, Santiago?
Laboratory practice module 2. Let me put it in chat.
Okay, I'll open it again that you can upload whatever you want. I
Thank you
want to
very
give you a
much.
little bit more time for that. By the way, your hair looks really nice. I like it.
It's
I
absolutely
No,
messed
it's
up. Did
cool,
you?
Santiago. It's cool. You don't need even out of bed gel. I was the same like a student.
Yeah, yeah. No,
I like it looks messy. It looks nice. I'm honest with you. I really like it.
thanks,
I
thanks.
like
I was
I,
gonna cut it on Monday, but
no,
last
no,
moment we went to the mountains and we're like, ah, screw that,
no,
screw
don't
it.
cut it. It's cool. It's
Thanks.
nice when it looks messy. It looks intelligent. It looks Einstein. Anyway, okay, let's continue with our digestive system. I was also very messy hair. Always the teachers would say, "Why you don't comb your hair?" I said, "Yeah, because I like it."
Teacher, I
Yeah,
had a question
go ahead.
because my mom saw like on the internet that private schools are supposed to go back to like in-person school like on Monday or like in 2 weeks. So
Yes.
I was like, I don't think tech is doing that, but she told me, well, ask, you don't.
In fact, we will, Leonela. I didn't get any news yet, but the talks are very much increasing. So every week there is 2, 3 meetings about se llama regreso consciente. I haven't told you anything because there is nothing official yet. But the talks are going, and it's very possible that we will go back sooner or later. But I don't know when. They haven't told me anything, so that's why I don't want to give you like news that is not news yet. But the only thing I can tell you is that they're seriously looking into it, and there is a good possibility that we will go to campus. I mean, half the group will go one day, and half the group will go another day, or on 1 hour, and then half the group on another hour. So it will be a hybrid system. Languages will stay online. Um, I think, yeah, I think it might happen. Yeah, maybe yes. It all depends on if you want to have an indication. It all depends on the semáforo of Coahuila. And actually, the semáforo of Coahuila is in orange, I think. And tech will go back when the semáforo is on green. Okay, so it still has to change from orange to yellow, and from yellow to green. And then they told us that when it's green, tech will wait 2 weeks more before we will actually go back. So if you want an indication, that's a little bit that what they have been talking about. So I think that the next week Coahuila will go to yellow. Maybe the week after or in 2 weeks it will go to green, because there is less cases at the moment. I hope the new variants will not come, because then we will go very quickly back to yellow. But anyway, if we end up in, yeah, in green, let's say, imagine that Monday Riquelme tells us, no, Coahuila is in green. Okay, imagine. It's not going to happen, but imagine. Then after 2 weeks later, then Tech will start classes. That's a little bit how they have been talking about this. But there is now, they didn't tell anything because there is not really a fixed date yet. But that's a little bit how it will go. Okay. I think it's too soon. I think I agree with Tech to not say anything yet, because it's really too soon to speculate. You know, it's really not sure when it will happen. But in the best case scenario, I think if everything goes as it goes, then the soonest we can go back, according to how I think that Coahuila works, will be in 3 or 4 weeks. So just before Easter holidays. That would be the best case scenario, to be realistic. But don't think that next week you're going to go back, because no, it doesn't. Tech is a little bit more protective and a little bit more waiting than the rest. And the problem with Tech is that whatever Tech does, the rest of Mexico follows. So that's why they have to take very careful measures, because they don't want to take this lightly, and they want to take like very well thought decisions. Okay, so let's go to the small intestine, guys. We talked about the stomach last class. No, I didn't want to share this. Now we're going to talk about the small intestine. Small intestine is it's very long, in fact. There we are. So this is like certain examples of people that had that bypass. So we go to the small intestine. The small intestine has 3 parts. The first part, we call it duodenum. Then we have jejunum, and after that we have ileum. Okay, duodenum comes from the Greek or the Latin of 12 fingers. And they call it 12 fingers because the length of that piece of small intestine is about 12 fingers long. I mean, it depends how thick your fingers are, but the average finger. This duodenum is very important because, in fact, all the secretions from the accessory organs, they are delivered in that duodenum. So I'm talking about the gallbladder, I'm talking about the liver, and about the pancreas. Okay, we will see that in the end. These are 3 organs that are involved in digestion. They're very important because they secrete enzymes and other hormones like insulin and stuff that we need for digestion. Okay, the small intestine is about 6 meters long, and it's so long because that's where absorption happens. Basically, the stomach broke down all the food into small pieces, and in that long small intestine, it's mixed with other digestive juices, and the food will be absorbed in the small intestine. Okay. The second part is called the jejunum. Okay, so chemical digestion is happening a lot there, because there is where the enzymes from the accessory organs like the pancreas, the liver, and the gallbladder, they start working, and they start mixing with it, so they even become smaller parts that absorption can start. And then the ileum does a lot of absorption and brings the things, the unabsorbed material, to the colon. The colon is what you see here. We come there in a moment. Okay, what is really important is to understand how this small intestine works. It has like villi and microvilli. Okay, if I would draw that, maybe I can try that with a sketchboard. The small intestine, it is very sensitive in many ways, because there is so much blood in it. Okay, it has a lot of nerve endings, it has a lot of blood. It's very complicated because so many nutrients have to be absorbed there. I don't find my pen. So like you can see here, I mean, I wanted to draw something, but I don't find the pen. Yeah, doesn't matter. So you see here that it's all, if you zoom in, you see this villi, okay? And if you zoom in this villi, you see even more villi, and that's like how it looks like on the microscope. And that's basically done to increase the surface of the small intestine so absorption can happen everywhere, okay? So here you can see that if you have the intestine, the whole intestine is coated with the intestinal lining, and those intestinal lining have villi. And if you look to those villi, they even have smaller villi, which we call microvilli. And you see that they're all like little things that come out like to increase the surface, you know? It's like folded and super folded and super folded. And all in these villis you have capillaries, and in that capillaries is basically where the nutrients are absorbed, and then they go to the bloodstream, and it will be transported all over our body. And that's really important because it's quite a complex process to absorb all those nutrients from all the food. And basically it's so complex because we need so many of them, okay? So if your intestine is damaged, then you have problems. If you have a bacterial infection or something, we see that in a moment, then this can get can get inflammation. And of course you get typical conditions like colicos or pain, or even diarrhea, okay? Also, this duodenum can have ulcers. Very easy, in fact, because if the acid from the stomach leaks into the duodenum, it's possible that in the duodenum you get ulcers, not in the stomach, but if you have like high stomach acid production, and the acid will leak into the duodenum, then this can cause ulcers here. And here you can see how that looks like. It's equally painful as a stomach ulcer, and it's equally dangerous, okay? Because basically ulcers, they risk that they cause leaks of the intestinal digestive system and of the small intestine. And if you have leaks, then the substance can go out. It might still have bacteria in it, and you get like a huge infection in the abdominal cavity, which can lead to anaphylactic shock. And anaphylactic shock is that there are so many bacteria released in one place that the immune system becomes so overactive that it really weakens the body, and you can even die of it. Okay, so gastroenteritis, a very important illness because you all had it several times in your life. Who hasn't had gastroenteritis? It's a little bit a wrong name because they also call it stomach flu, but it's not really in the stomach, it's of the small intestine. So basically what happens is that you get like bacteria, or it could be due to alcohol or too much fat food, that you get inflammation of your small intestine. Very often it goes with bacteria. If you ate contaminated food, it's a big problem in third world countries, and it causes diarrhea, vomiting, stomach pain, even headache, because of you lose so much liquids because of the diarrhea. Dehydration causes very often headache because of the lack of liquids, okay? It can be both bacterial or viral infection, and even more than that, you can even have it from amoeba or certain parasites. So this is basically one of the most common illnesses you have in the world. A lot of people take it very lightly because you take some antibiotics and you fix it. But basically this gastroenteritis is still causing many deaths in Africa, in Asia, in India, where people do not have access to medicines, and especially young children, older people who have a weaker immune system, they can die of this kind of conditions. So always wash your hands when you eat, because honestly, this you can avoid by eating well-cooked food, disinfected food, washing your hands, and definitely drinking clean water, because this can be very often due to contaminated water. We call that fecal-oral. Do you know what fecal-oral means?
Nope.
No, fecal means feces, oral means mouth. So basically, it is like bacteria that come from drainage and from toilets and from human excrement. They come into the drinking water source, and that's how you can get sick when you drink that contaminated water. So that's what we call fecal oral. And that's one of the biggest causes of gastroenteritis, very often contaminated water in most parts of the world. And then we arrive to the colon. Okay, the colon is a very it's way thicker than the small intestine. That's why they call it large intestine. It's not as long, and it has also three parts. Okay, we have here the large intestine. Okay, that's this part, which has three parts: the ascending, the transverse, and the descending one. Then we have the rectum, and then here in the end we have the anus. Okay, so the large intestine, what it does, basically it's removing water from the feces. Okay, it still absorbs some liquids and it forms the feces. It doesn't do that much absorption anymore of nutrients, it just does absorption of water. Some nutrients, but not that much. Okay, some minerals, ions, and water, but really the nutrients is the job of the small intestine. The rectum, which is this the last part, which is about 20-30 centimeters long, it's basically a storage place of the feces, and it triggers here. It has some nerve endings. Whenever it's full and there's too much feces, you will have the feeling to go to the bathroom and you will go defecate. And the anus is like a sphincter. It's like a circular muscle which is always contracted, and then when it's relaxed, you can use it to expel the feces. Okay. The anus has a lot of veins around it, just like the rectum, and basically when the rectum falls a little bit out of the anus, or those veins they become really swollen for several kind of reason, you can have hemorrhoids. I have like a very confronting picture of that in a moment. So colitis is another illness, guys. Colitis is basically the same thing again. You can have this inflammation of the stomach, the inflammation of the small intestine. You can also have the inflammation of the large intestine. And basically it can be chronic. It can be due to alcohol. It can be due to a virus. It can be due to bacteria. And it's itis because it's inflammation caused by an infection. And you see here a normal colon, and here like a colon with colitis. And this is very painful, guys, because it has contractions, it creates cramps, and it's typically due to bad bacteria in your colon. There is something called like a feces transplantation. Have you heard of that?
Actually, yes, I think I've heard of that.
Yeah, so there is people that have really bad bacteria in their colon and they want to get rid of it. And what they do is they take feces of another human being which has healthy poo, and they will dilute it with water, and they will inject the water with the human feces, which is basically healthier bacteria, and they will inject it in the anus to create a new bacterial flora in the intestine. You can also do that by drinking Yakult, but that's really a little bit of a lie. It has some bacteria in it. They call it, how do they call it? Probiotica, you know. In fact, your whole colon is full of bacteria. I don't know if you know that, but it's a lot of bacteria. E. coli mainly. But these bacteria, we call them good bacteria because they don't make you ill. And it's a good thing to have those bacteria in your colon, because when they don't make you ill, they do fight bad bacteria. But sometimes it happens that the bad bacteria win from the good bacteria, and then you get this colitis and you start to feel really ill and you get diarrhea and such. And that's why you have to make sure that you eat healthy. And that's why people say that yogurt is healthy, that Yakult is healthy, eating some yeast, and these kind of things, because this is the bacteria flora of your colon basically has to be maintained. For instance, if you do a lot of drugs, if you do a lot of alcohol, you damage this natural bacterial flora, and it's very typical that then you can get ill and you can get colitis, and you can have certain bad bacteria in your colon. Okay. And that's when you have to start thinking of getting those bacteria back. Okay, these are hemorrhoids, guys. If you don't want to look at it, don't look at it. Hemorrhoids is basically swollen group of veins or veins in the anus region. They can be on the inside of the anus and they can be on the outside of the anus. I show you this because a lot of people will be confronted with it, because what do you do about it? it's very, very painful, and it's very often due to what you eat. So if you don't eat healthy, if you don't eat a lot of fiber, if you eat too much meat, too much alcohol, even there's reports of people smoking a lot of marijuana, that the sphincter relaxes, that hemorrhoids more easily form. Also, women that are pregnant sometimes get hemorrhoids because of the pressure in the belly, and then the rectum can because of the gravity go a little bit down, and the same pressure is not kept in the anus. So these hemorrhoids, they have many kind of reasons. It's also people that have jobs that they have to stand up a long time. Some people think it has to do with eating certain amount of chilies, or certain amount of fats, or certain amount of red meat. All of these things are certain indicators to get hemorrhoids. They're definitely not causes, because there's also a genetical factor. But what you have to remember, that any illness of our, or any problem of our digestive system, always has to do with what you eat and how much you eat of it. Appendicitis. So you also know that our colon or our large intestine has this thing here on the beginning of it, which we call the appendix. Some of you might have removed it already, and nowadays they don't really know what the true function of the appendix is, but it's probably something that is still there since that's left behind in evolution, and that doesn't really have a function anymore. If you remove it, it seems that you can live perfectly normal without any problem. And it gets very often infected because it accumulates like small hard things that are not digested. So people that bite their nails, people that eat a lot of guayaba, they eat a lot of seeds or whatever, things that not digest well, and they keep stuck in the appendix. It can get infected, and it's very dangerous, because if the appendix gets infected, it can explode inside your belly, and then you have the same thing. You get this anaphylactic shock. For instance, the other day I was looking a documentary about Antarctica. If you want to go to Antarctica, you need to remove your appendix preventively, because it's like a very urgent thing. If you get an infection, and it might explode, or it's not really explode, but it might break inside your belly. You cannot go Antarctica, because if that happens in Antarctica, you don't have time to go back to the mainland and get operated, and you might die because of it. So scientists that go to Antarctica, depending on the country, they're now obliged to have their appendix removed. I think they will also do it with people that want to go to Mars. Okay, guys, then we have colon cancer. Colon cancer is one of the most nasty cancers you can imagine. Why is it so nasty? Because the prognosis is so poor. If you have colon cancer, basically you have to write your testament. There's very few people that heal from it, and if you have colon cancer, the prognosis is really, really poor. So again, guys, you eat healthy, because this colon cancer is directly related to meat consumption, alcohol consumption, processed food consumption, preservant consumption, all of this. The only thing I can tell you to avoid all of the issues that we have seen is eat healthy. Eat healthy, and not only healthy, eat balanced. Okay, if you're gonna drink 2 or 3 liters of orange juice a day, and you think like, I'm very healthy, I'm drinking 3 liters of orange juice a day, it's not healthy, it's too acid. Okay, so it needs to be balanced as well. It means a little bit of rice, a little bit of vegetables, a little bit of fruits, meat as little as possible, sugar as little as possible, and salt as little as possible. Okay, last word about the 3 accessory organs, which are the liver, the gallbladder, and the pancreas. As I told you in the beginning of the class, they have all secretions, and those secretions, they are released in the duodenum. Okay, and the secretions they have all a different function. It's important to notice that this gallbladder is very difficult to find. Normally, we do this semester a dissection of organs, and it's always difficult to find the gallbladder. When you take a liver, you have to look for it. It is a little bit lighter of color, because the liver is really dark, and the gallbladder is a little bit hidden inside the liver, in the lumps of the liver. So let's have a look what they do. So the liver is basically a sponge, okay? So all the blood that is absorbing nutrients from the small intestine, it will first pass to the liver, okay? Because you don't want to send that blood directly to the vital organs like the heart, the brains, and the lungs. No, you want to detoxify it in case there is something inside of it that is not good for that organ. So that's why it passes first through the liver to detoxify the blood from everything it got absorbed from the small intestine, okay? It helps also a little bit with digestion because the gallbladder secretes the bile and it breaks down the fat. And that brings us to the gallbladder. It's like a little bag that produces a liquid which we call bile, which helps a lot with digesting fats, basically. Okay. Certain people get a problem with that because they produce stones in the gallbladder and it's very painful. Okay. And in China, people, they believe that this has medical purposes, so they would eat the gallbladder, or at least the bile from the gallbladder. They would take it from a bear and then eat it, and then they will think that they live forever. Of course, that's not true. And then we have the pancreas. What is important to know about the pancreas is that it has an endocrine and exocrine function. Endocrine means a hormonal function. Exocrine means that it produces enzymes to break down major food molecules, proteins into amino acids. Here you have some examples of those enzymes that it produces. And the hormonal function is insulin and glycogen. Okay. So here is it located, the pancreas, just beside the liver on the other side. And here you have the three accessory organs. And there's some interesting facts about the liver. Did you know that the liver has about 500 different functions? It's very heavy. It's one of the heaviest of the largest organs of the body. It's 1.6 kilo. And it's the only organ that if you would cut a piece of it, that it would grow back, okay? With the exception of cirrhosis, because that's not true. If you have a healthy liver and you remove a piece of the healthy liver, it would grow back. And it produces 720 liters of, it filters 720 liters of blood a day. Okay, here you see the functions a little bit, you can revise that. But here I want to tell you something about cirrhosis, because I think cirrhosis is something very, very important. Important, not it's something really bad. Cirrhosis is caused by two things, okay? It's caused by viruses, which are hepatitis A, B, and C. You have heard of that. It's basically hepatitis. Hepato is like liver, and it's an infection of the liver which causes cirrhosis. And what is cirrhosis? You see here normal liver, and then below that you see a liver with cirrhosis. And the liver with cirrhosis, it has like, it seems like these spots on it. And what are those spots? It's basically scar tissue. It's tissue that got damaged because of viruses, or it got damaged because of excessive alcohol consumption. And when a liver has cirrhosis, so it has like hundreds or thousands of little spots with damaged tissue, which becomes in fact a scar. And you know, when you have a scar, that the tissue is harder, it's not so flexible, it doesn't do the same function as the original tissue anymore. And the same thing happens with the liver. Little by little, if your liver becomes cirrhosis, then your liver cannot do the function it's supposed to do. And then you have serious problems. The first thing you see when you have a problem, a person with cirrhosis, is that you will notice that the eyes, the white part of the eyes will become yellow. And that's because the liver is not getting the toxins out of the blood anymore. So from the moment you see a person in the bus or in the airplane or I don't know where, and you see that the white of the eye is yellow, then you have to tell this person, hey dude, I'm really sorry, but I think you should go to the hospital, because if you look at this man here, it's really, really bad, because his its eye becomes yellow. And in fact, it's not the eye that becomes yellow, the whole body is yellow. But the only thing is that in the eyes you see it because it's white, but you have an accumulation of toxins in all of the body, and of course eventually it will kill you. A second consequence of liver cirrhosis because of viruses or because of alcohol is that the belly will swell. And why will the belly swell? Because the liver cannot filter anymore. So it will retain fluids in the belly because it's a sponge, it's like a blocked filter, let's say. So you get accumulation of liquids, okay? The blood can still pass a little bit, but the fluids and the everything will be retained by the liver. And what you typically get is like a very swollen belly. And then, yeah, you have to get operated. Basically, if you look like this man, or you get a liver transplant, or you die, okay? There's nothing in between it because the liver, once it has cirrhosis, it doesn't regenerate anymore. It's game over, okay?
Teacher,
Yes?
has it ever happened like women think they're pregnant, but they actually have cirrhosis?
Yeah, there is I've seen a documentary about this, about the UK. There was a girl, and in the UK you have yeah, I don't know how to call them. You have uneducated people, let's say. They don't go to school. Very often they don't go to school or they abandon school. And the documentary was about these younger people that have a very high level of partying, you know, a high party scene. And it was a girl of 20 years old or 21 years old. And it has been in these subcultures in the UK, it has been very popular to binge drink. Do you know what binge drinking is?
Yes.
Yeah, it's like you drink a whole bottle of vodka or tequila at fundum, and then you pass out and you go in a coma, and it's just a game, let's say, to see how much you can drink before you pass out. Of course, this is complete suicide. And this girl was in this culture, in this group, and there's a lot of partying, a lot of promiscuity and free love and drugs and everything you want. And basically, all of a sudden, she was very young. She thought she was pregnant because of course all this partying goes together with unprotected sex and a lot of alcohol. And the girl indeed got a very swollen belly. She thought she was pregnant, but then when she went to the hospital, she needed to have a liver transplant or she would die. So in fact, it's very sad. So guys, I think you're still starting with partying and going out, and you should, guys. You should party, you should enjoy, you should party, you should have a drink. I'm not saying no, but don't do these ridiculous things that you go binge drinking, or these competitions, who can drink the most. It's completely ridiculous, guys. You don't get anything out of it. I mean, the part, if you have 4 beers or you have 8 beers, okay, the party is not double as good if you have 8 beers. It's ridiculous. And I know you will drink, and I'm not going to say, yeah, I'm not really that radical that you, no, never drink or never go out. It's not natural either. But I think you have to do it in a responsible way. And we will go there more when we go to drugs. I'm not recommending you to drink, don't get me wrong, but when you drink, if you decide that you want to try a beer or you want to try some tequila or whatever, that you do it responsibly, you know. Because I mean, you can say anything about it that you want, but alcohol is a serious problem in this world, you know. I mean, it's more addictive than marijuana. It's more damaging than marijuana, to give an example, but it's socially accepted. So if you drink, everything is fine, but if you smoke marijuana, you're a criminal, you know. I'm not glorifying marijuana either, but I think there is a little bit of misconception about different kinds of drugs. And the thing with alcohol is that it's so accepted and it's so normal that people think it doesn't do any harm because everybody does it. So we have the gallbladder and the pancreas. Okay, I'll go a bit faster because I already said what they did. Okay, let's go to the conditions. I mentioned briefly that gallstones can be formed. Okay, what causes gallstones? Your genes, your weight, and problems with your gallbladder and your diet. Okay, basically it's always your bladder, your diet, sorry. So this is very painful. Gall should be released little by little, but if you have an unbalanced diet, of course, the gallbladder gets confused. It thinks it has to produce more bile in order to digest all the fats that you're eating. And of course, if it gets deregulated because of what you eat, you can have these stones in your gallbladder, which is very painful, and they have to be removed by operation. Okay. Guys, pancreatic cancer, it's something very, very serious. Who is this guy here on the bottom? You know him?
Steve
Steve
Jobs.
Jobs.
Steve Jobs. There are some other famous people, a judge here, and I forgot who this person was. But this is all for famous people that died of pancreas cancer. Again, guys, again, just like I said with colon cancer, if you have pancreas cancer, it's very poor prognosis, you know. Look at it. If the 5-year survival rate is only 16%. So if you get diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, that means that if 100 people get pancreas cancer, only 16 people of the 100 are still alive after 5 years. It's that aggressive, it's that bad, the disease. What are the causes? Again, same thing: unhealthy diet, smoking, diabetes, drinking, genetic factors, and chronic pancreatitis. So really, if you want to live long, and if you want to live healthy, the only thing you have to do is eating healthy is the first and most important thing, because all the cancers of the digestive system are really, really lethal. It's really bad for all of us. So guys, this is what you have to know. It's a little bit important because we have digestive enzymes in each part. We mentioned them briefly, that in the mouth we have amylase. Amylase breaks down starch to disaccharides, to glucose, basically. In the stomach, we have pepsin, which breaks down proteins to peptides or amino acids. Amylase, we also have it in the small intestine, like trypsin and lipase. And you have to know those enzymes and what they break down. In fact, it's really simple, because if it says peptides or peptine, it's always peptides into amino acids. If it's maltase, sucrase, lactase, it's all the enzymes that break down sugars. Lipase breaks down fat. You know these things, you know, out of the biomolecules, you recognize it, but you have to know it. If you see this kind of enzymes, you have to know what they break down. Okay. I just finished. That's great, because I was a bit afraid that I wouldn't finish, and because we're a little bit behind. So also sorry if I had to go a little bit faster, but this digestive system is really, really important. So any questions about this system? So we can tomorrow start with the respiratory system, which is shorter and simpler, in fact.
No.
No? Okay. So I'll have a look at the module 2 things. But Santiago, you said module 2 laboratory. Is that what you said?
I put it in chat. Laboratory practice module 2. Yes.
Okay.
I also left
But
the one that was the quiz in chat.
okay, there's one thing I have to tell you. If there is any issue with the grade there, the grades are already in the system, because I have to give them to 48 hours after the system. So any help that I can give you will be in second partial, okay? So the grades you have now, it will be really difficult for me to change, okay?
Yes, but the activities of module 2. Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so it's of second partial already then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think.
I think you mean module
yeah.
3. Are we in module? No, you mean module 3, I think. Not? I'm not. I'm even confused. I'll check. The only problem is that I cannot change the things of the first partial anymore. But anyway, I'll open it. Maybe integrative activity module 2. Okay, I'll have a look at it. You don't worry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
In case I cannot help you now, I will help you the second partial. You know that I want to be nice with you, and I really want you to have good grades and everything. So I mean, I you know I have goodwill with all of you. Okay. Okay. See you tomorrow then for the respiratory system. Okay, guys.
Thank you, teacher.
You're welcome.
Teacher.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
See
Thank
you.
you.
Teacher.
Yes.